Hey, are you two 6 meters apart? I think you better get a little further away from each other. Good morning, everybody. It's Stephen here for Bland Designs, and welcome to my weekly vlog for Monday, April the 6th, 2020, and it's the 26th day of my captivity. And so I hope everybody's doing okay. I hope everybody is safe and healthy and happy, as happy as we can be during this time of isolation. But let's not dwell on that because there's too much dwelling on that right now. Just remember, stay in. Stay in. Talk more about that in a bit. So, what are my current projects? Well, I've been making some placemats in the hoop. Found this design, I think it was $1 for it off of, not sure which website I got it from, but these are what they look like when they're finished. They're a scalloped square placemat. I did some embroidery in the center, and if you look at it very closely, it is quilted as well. This is what the back looks like, so they are somewhat reversible. And I made 2 of these little suckers. And what am I going to do with them? Well, I'm just going to put them aside and save them as future hostess gifts. Maybe I'll make some matching napkins. I do have some more of this fabric that's in here, which I really love, with the butterflies. They'd make really nice napkins. And I'll save them as a gift for, when we get back to normal life again, when we're able to see our friends and things like that, and maybe get invited out for dinner or have people over, I'll give them as a hostess gift or something. Anyways, I just have fun making them to start with. So what else have I been making, speaking of fun? This is called the April Door. Now, there is a Facebook group from a company that does embroidery designs. Dimes is called, and every month they put out what they call the Door of the Month, and it's an in the hoop embroidery kind of thing, and each one has a theme that goes with the month. So here with the rain boots and everything, April showers kind of idea. I've done the January, February, and March one, and now this is the April one, and I'll keep doing them. And the idea is by the end of the year you have 12 of these, and then I think I can make them into like a wall hanging. I'll just put them all together. So it's kind of fun to do. It's fairly intricate, but not difficult if you take your time with it. So that's what I've been up to. And this week I'm going to start quilting in my hoop. My latest quilt, the one I showed you last week, I believe, Doves of Hope. I'm going to lay that all out today, get it all layered, baste it, and then start the quilting process and see how that goes. I've already figured out my design for it and everything like that, and away I go. So I've been busy, and I'm going to keep busy as well. Okay, what else? So if you're feeling a little down this time, which most of us are, it's can't be helped, but if you want to laugh and it's about the virus, check out, I put down below a playlist of a few parodies about the whole crisis situation, and they're good for a laugh, and some of them are very, very well done as well. All you need to do, well, here, watch the video. This week's YouTube channel is actually a playlist to get you through self-isolation during the coronavirus. And what it is a playlist of parody songs about the coronavirus and the whole situation. Now, yes, it is a very serious situation, but I think we need some levity at this point in our lives. I know I sure do. So when I did a search for corona parody songs, I found a whole ton of them. Some of them are kind of but others are really quite good. So if you want something that is going to take your mind off being isolated, being stuck in the house, this whole crisis situation, then why not enjoy some musical parodies about the situation? The coronavirus playlist. And I can't remember if I showed it to you last week or not, but in the teaser you saw the little stuffed toys that I made. Again, those were in the hoop embroidery projects, and they were just fun to do. Okay, so the link for the YouTube channel of the week, or the playlist actually this week, is in the notes below. There's a link to Stephen and Walter Live. We tried not to, but we weren't that successful to not talk too much about the crisis right now. You can't help because it changes day by day. There's always some new stuff happening in it. But we did check out what other people are doing to keep themselves sane during this time. And so if you didn't catch us live, the rebroadcast is there. The link's below, and check it out. Okay, and I've got the link to this week's book as usual, and we'll come to that in a moment. So, what's pissing me off this week? Stupid people again. Some people are not getting the whole point of physical distancing. They've changed the term now. It's now physical distancing, not social distancing. And they're still not getting it. And the danger here is that the weather is getting nicer in the northern hemisphere. Okay, we've hit spring. As I look out my window right now, it's nice and sunny out there. And, the urge to go out and do things is there. We're being pulled by the sun. I mean, here in Canada, we've had a long winter. We're all cabin fevered before we even went into isolation. And now we want to get out. We can go out, but stay in your own yard, like you used to say to the kids. I don't think people tell their kids that anymore. I don't know if kids play in the yard anymore. I think they're always stuck to a video game. But when I was a kid, it used to be go out and play in the yard where I can keep my eye on you. It was what my mother used to say. So you can still go out. I mean, there's yard work to be done, clean up the yard, things like that. And when I say, clean up the yard, I mean Walter's going to probably clean up the yard. I don't do yard work. Why? Because I'm lazy. Something I don't enjoy. I used to do it when I was a kid. My parents made me do it. Maybe that's why I hate it. But anyways, I digress. So people want to get out, and naturally when people are out, they want to talk to other people, and there goes the physical distancing. Well, you can't do that. Stop it. All right? I saw a video on the weekend of parks in London, England, where people were congregating, and the cops were coming, and the cops were shooing them away. I don't know if they were fining them or not, but I know here in Canada it's been happening in Montreal and Toronto, and the cops are out and they are fining them. And very stiff fine, $750 up to $1,000 for congregating. Apparently, someone told me yesterday, now I haven't seen this on the news yet, but I haven't watched the news yet today, that there was a whole group of people having a little party in Toronto, and they got fined $100,000. You can't do this, people. What's the point? You're not getting. This is not fake news. This is a deadly virus. Now, you have every right in the world to kill yourself. Yes, I will not take that right away from you. Nobody should have that right taken away from them. If you want to kill yourself, you go right out there and kill yourself, okay? You get that disease, you lay down, you drop dead. But you do not have the right to kill me or anybody else. And you're going to kill us if you get near us when you've got the COVID virus. And just because you're not showing any symptoms of the COVID virus, they've already told us this, you can be asymptomatic, but you can still pass it on. Think of the elderly, but it's not just the elderly or people in my age bracket that are more susceptible. Everybody's susceptible. We've just had a child die from the COVID virus here in Canada, according to a news report I saw. I think that's the first, child, basically. You can get it. It doesn't matter how healthy you are. You can get it. Don't do it. Don't be stupid. It's only been a few weeks that we've had this isolation imposed upon us. Only a few weeks. It's for a few more weeks of a little bit of discomfort means that we stop this disease and we can go on with our lives again. It's a small sacrifice in order to save the lives of the people nearest to you, around you, in the general public. Most of the cases now, at least in Canada, that people are getting are not from travelers. It's now community-based, they're saying. And how do you get it if it's community-based? By being in the community. By not doing physical, I was going to call it social distancing, but it's not social distancing now, it's physical distancing. By not doing that, you are putting your life and other people's lives in jeopardy. This is not a joke. You're stupid if you think it is a joke. I have no respect for people who do not take this seriously. None whatsoever. And if you think I'm some kind of crackpot, fine, go out, kill yourself. Don't take anybody else down with you. Like I said, it's your right to die at your own hands. It is not your right to kill. And it's a form of murder. All right, we have laws against that. So that's what's pissing me off this week. Really pissing me off. Are this irresponsibility, this sense that you're not vulnerable, that you're invincible, that you can't get it, and blah, blah, blah. And oh my goodness, I have to stay away from other people and have to stay inside, and that's just inconveniencing my life. Get over yourself so we can get over the virus. Simple as that. I think the best way that it's becoming up now, and pardon my language, but stay the fuck in. There. Do you need it spelled out? Apparently some people do, and it's still not working. So stupid people. Okay, let's move on to cheerier things, shall we? All right. So, something new that I did, I ordered it online. There's a special kind of quilt. It's called a Dear Jane quilt. It was created by a woman in the late 1800s, 1880s or 1890s. I'm not absolutely sure of the history. By a woman named Jane, I think it was Jane Stickle. And basically, it's a quilt made up of about 225 tiny blocks. Each block is different. So in a sense, it's a sampler quilt. It is one of those types of quilts that people put on their bucket list in the quilting world to make a Dear Jane. So I have a computer program called Electric Quilt. Electric Quilt allows you to create quilts on your computer and then print out the instructions and the design for it. Well, the company that puts this out just came out with an add-on called the Dear Jane, and they had it on sale. It wasn't a bad price, really. I mean, it's an American, so it was $32 and some odd cents. I think $32.99 American. Translated into about $47.50 some cents Canadian. But I did order it, and I've got this big binder here. Now, it was all downloaded, like I downloaded it to my computer once I paid for it. So I've created this binder, but it has all the instructions and everything about it. I think there might be a picture here. If you bear with me for a minute, I can show you what a Dear Jane quilt might look like. Yeah, I don't think I've got a full picture. Which is kind of unusual. I thought there would be one in here. I guess not. It's kind of weird that they didn't put that, but if you do a search, if you're really that interested, you can find lots of examples of it. This is a very tiny picture, but basically that's what the finished quilt would look like. Now, not necessarily in those colors. I think basically you can make it from scraps. You can do anything you want with it. But that's going to be one of my ongoing projects, the Dear Jane. I may never get it done, but I'm going to give it a try. So that's something new I got this week. I also put in an order again to my favorite supply store online, Monfil. And I've ordered some more of their embroidery threads because they're really good, and a few other little goodies as well. I'm trying to do my part to keep Canadian businesses going during this time. And speaking of that, keeping businesses going, I did do something a little stupid this weekend, and I mentioned this on Stephen and Walter Live. Right after I tell you what I'm pissed off about, now I'm going to tell you something that I did. Now, I did not congregate with other people, but I did go out and I went to a store. Now, before you go, oh, you hypocrite, let me explain what happened. My local quilting store, which of course is closed because it's not an essential business, put out an email saying that if there was something you wanted, you could order it online through them, and you could come and they would have curbside pickup, and they would, do all the protocol for, physical distancing and the whole bit. Well, you know how much I love my local quilt store, Ultimate Sewing in Oshawa. And I really want to support the owner of that because it's a mom and pop kind of thing. And this is rough, as we know, for all little businesses, big businesses too, but little businesses as well. And when we get through all of this, I think we're going to find a lot of our little businesses will not have been able to recover. And I don't want to see that happen to this particular store. So Walter and I put in an order. Now, I wanted some white fabric. I could have lived without the white fabric, but when I do my quilts, I have to set up a template or a practice piece to know the positioning of my hoops and stuff for quilting the quilt. So I like to do that on just plain white fabric. I don't want to use up, some of my pretty fabrics or anything for this kind of thing, because essentially after you're done with it, it's basically garbage. So I thought I'd order a whole bolt of plain white fabric from her. Walter also already had a standing order for a big collection of Floriani embroidery threads, which had actually come in just before they had to close down the store, so he never got a chance to get over and pick it up. Both of these are fairly big ticket purchases. I think my bolt of fabric is around about $150. Walter's threads were around $350. So, between the two of us, about $500 worth of business that we're doing. So we sent an email off and said we would be over to pick it up. And she was running very limited hours for this, from 12 to 3. When we got in the car and started going over to pick this up, I did get a little worried. I got paranoid a little bit because I haven't been out, except for the occasional walk around our subdivision. And it was weird, a weird feeling, like thinking, I'm doing something I shouldn't be doing, But anyways, we went. We sat in the car because we could see there was somebody inside the store, a customer, just standing inside the doorway. So we didn't want to get near them, so we stayed and waited until they were finished and came back out. They did. We went in, and the owner of the store had bags with people's names on them, all right in the very entranceway of the door. And, attached to those bags was how much it was going to cost. And you were just to pick up your bag, go back home, and do it by e-transfer. Fine. Well, we didn't have a bag with our name on it, and the store owner's husband was there helping out too. And so we had to talk to the store owner, but we did keep our physical distance. We didn't touch anything. We didn't, come near her. Did it all from well away. And we got her stuff. She'd had over 260 emails, people ordering stuff. So she was trying to keep up with that. And I'm happy for her that she got all of that, because that's good business. This will probably help her through. We got her stuff, we got out, we paid for it by e-transfer, and that's fine. I won't do that again, though. I'm sorry to her, the owner of it. If she has this again, I won't. I had such a gut-wrenching feeling when I went out. Now, they say it takes 3 to 4 weeks to make something that's into a habit, to get used to it. And I think I'm getting used to this whole isolation thing. And that's kind of scary from a totally different point of view. What's it going to be like when we finally have these restrictions lifted from us and we can get back to normal again? I think, and I don't think I'm going to be the only one, I think we're all going to be like the groundhog in spring. We're going to peek up and look out. And if we see our bloody shadow, we're going to run right back into the house. I mean, it's just the weirdest feeling, because this is becoming the norm, this isolation. And as I said before, yes, we have to do this. But it's going to be weird when we get back to normal, whenever that is going to be. And I'm trying to be a realist here. I don't think people keep projecting dates on us for all of this. And here I go, I'm digressing again. But people keep putting dates on us, like the middle of April, like Easter, the middle of April, the end of April, the 1st of May, all this kind of stuff. I think realistically, and I don't even know if it's realistic, let's just say that the summer is gone. I think it's better to plan. This is just me, my philosophy. I think it's better to plan for the worst and hope for the best. Because if the worst doesn't come, you're happy. But if you've got yourself all set up thinking, hey, I'm going to be able to do my summer plans. I have plans this summer. Was going out to Edmonton. Was going to Stratford Festival, theater. Going to see Spam-A-Lot, all that kind of stuff. We've got the hotels booked. We have flights booked, the whole bit. We're not going. It's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. And, recovering our money from those things. We have a river cruise. That was planned. That's definitely not going to happen. That we were supposed to leave about May the 17th for that. And it's Europe. No, that's not going to happen yet. We're still waiting to hear what the cruise company's going to do about this. And we've talked about this before on Stephen and Walter Live and whatnot, so I'm not going to rehash all of that again. But right now, I'm just going to assume that those trips are not going to happen. We're probably going to lose most of our money on those. We're not going to be outside anytime soon, and I'm going to make the best of it. Okay? I think that's all we can do. Yes, it would be nice to see my friends, but we're staying in touch on Facebook. I'm staying in touch with all of you doing this. I didn't do any lives last week, with the exception of Stephen and Walter Live, but I didn't do any of my impromptu sewing ones. I may not do those. I don't know. I'll see. That has nothing to do with basically this whole crisis thing we're going through. That has to do with my technology and, how well I can make it work. But I guess the bottom line here, and boy, did I ever digress, is that I got this stuff. I won't do it again. I was a bad boy. And Walter was wearing gloves. We came home. We scrubbed the crap out of ourselves. We were very, very cautious about this whole thing. But that's not an excuse for what we did. No, not an excuse at all. All I want to do was support a store I love and want to make sure that they survive through this. Maybe she needs to rethink that idea. Maybe there's some way she can figure out how to ship it to you, or whatever. I don't know. And we don't know how long that's going to last too, the shipping of everything. I know Amazon has now put on priority to ship things that have to do with the healthcare system. Bully for them. That's a good thing. But of course, a lot of people are ordering things online because we can't get out. Anyways, I just went all the way around here, didn't I, about things. Just a sign of how my brain is working. So let's bring it back down. And what was I really talking about? Oh yeah, started with the Dear Jane fabric. Okay, so moving on, let's talk about the book of the week, shall we? Now, you got a lot of time on your hands right now. And I know a lot of people out there are probably thinking or have thought over time, I really need to do a family history. Genealogy is a big hobby. I was into it for a while. Hit a lot of brick walls, though, with my family, and I just lost my interest in it again. But when I was doing it, I picked up this book, and because I was scrapbooking at the same time, this book appealed to me. Family History Scrapbooking by Becky Higgins. Okay? And, if genealogy is intimidating to you because, you say, oh, I got to get onto Ancestry.com and pay a lot of money for that, and I don't know how to get a hold of people that might have records for things and stuff like that, don't let that overwhelm you. In fact, you don't even have to go that route. You can go with the route now with the pictures you probably have in your, in a shoebox in a cupboard somewhere that came from grandma's, or whatever. Now you can take those out, sort them out, and start doing your own family history as scrapbook pages or in a journal or whatever you want. But this book is great. Now, of course, Becky Higgins has always been one of the gurus of the scrapbooking industry. And of course, she created the whole photo life process, which I don't know if that's a thing anymore or not. I was big into it at one point. If you go way back on some of my old videos, I talk about that. But great ideas. It's a nice book, the way it's laid out, the way things are described, the techniques that are used. I mean, even if you weren't to do these with, like, in the terms of family history, but with, you know, you want to catch up on a lot of those pictures you haven't put in your scrapbook yet, some new ideas in here as well. So I originally paid $29.99, and this was created by a company called Creating Keepsakes, which does not exist anymore. But this book is still available on Amazon, of course, and the price is really good. On Amazon.ca, they're listing it at $13.90, and I paid $29.99 for it at the time. Now, there is a shipping charge, and according to Amazon, it's $3.99 shipping. Now, it might take you a little longer to get it, however, given what I've said already about Amazon changing their priorities to the healthcare system. But nevertheless, it is a good book, and it's worth waiting for as well. So, if you're interested, I've put the link to that in the show notes below. Okay, so this takes us to my next installment of my Grimoire, and this is the embellishing of pages 3 and 4. Okay, so I've already finished these 2 pages, which you've already seen. So now I'm starting to work on the interior, and I'm going to work on these 2 pages. And this one has a little pocket spot right here, as you can see. So I have a tag. This is a tag I made a little bit earlier out of some of the paper I'm using as the background. And I'm thinking, since I've already had an introduction to this book called Book of Shadows Blessing, I thought I'd look at a couple of cards here I've got that are called Ritual. One is Cleansing Crystals for Rituals and Ritual itself. And I think I'm going to put those on the front and back of the tag. And I'm going to take some of this ribbon that looks sort of like a crocheted kind of thing, and I think I'll take my oxide ink to this and just grunge it up a little bit. And I'm going to grunge these up as well. And then I have this cabinet card right here, and since I have a large pocket on the side, I thought I would take this cabinet card and put it here. And this page is going to be about calling upon your ancestors. So I'm going to use that on this page, actually. This page, the tag over on this page, the cabinet card in this pocket. I've already put in a background piece of paper that came from one of my sets of paper that I called up earlier. I'm going to grunge this up. I'm going to add these 2 ladies to this card as well. So sort of like, okay, so you're calling up your ancestors, so these might be the ancestors, and they've got ladies' names on here like Prudence and Penelope and Patricia and Melinda. So I thought these could be some of those ladies right there, and this is what the back of the cabinet card looks like, and I kind of like that as is. This is a Tim Holtz thing. And I've got some more of Tim Holtz's paper dolls, which I may use along the edge of these this pocket, along with this little stylized type cross. Again, I'm going to grunge that up. And I have found a couple of these little corner pieces, again from, I'm not sure where these came from, but I thought they might look nice, you know, positioned on the corners of the cabinet card to dress it up. So I have all of my materials here that I want to work with, so I'm going to get started. So on this page, we're going to have the calling upon our ancestors, and I've printed this out. This was an image off of Google Images, and I want to do a little bit of tearing on this to rough up my edges, and then I'm going to apply some ink to this. And I don't want to rip the words, so I'm trying to be careful here. And I think I'll just leave these edges as they are, but I'm going to use some Distress Oxide Walnut Stain, which is what I used on the other pages, and I'm going to get my applicator really inky and just go around the edges of this, grunge it up a little bit. And when I cut this card out from the paper, before I tore up the edges, I did leave a little bit of a white border around it because I like to do that so I have something that the ink can stick to, and essentially the little white border just disappears depending on how much ink you put on it. Okay, and I am just going to adhere it right down there, and I think for the sake of time, I'm just going to use some double-sided tape on this. Could use wet glue, but I don't like waiting around for, let's get these things out of the way, waiting around for my wet glue to dry. So this is fast and it holds well. And get out my bone folder and just give each piece of tape before I take off the backing a good varnish. And let's take the tape backing off. And I'm just going to sort of center this right here. It doesn't need to be perfectly centered. Now, to embellish this a little bit, and since it's calling up my ancestors, I am going to, where did I put my ones? I have a couple of images here, and I don't know if that's one I was going to use. No, I'm going to go for the smaller ones. I'm going to use these ladies down here, and I'm going to use this one up here. It's going to cover my words a little bit, but that's okay. And essentially, I think I could do a little bit of ink around the edges, I suppose. Yeah, that just gets rid of my white edge. And again, makes them look kind of ancient. And I'm just going to use some of my Gorilla Glue. Now I could raise these with some dimensional squares or pop dots, but I don't think I'll bother because the page before this is fairly thick, as you can see when I try to close it. So I don't want to get things too raised up, too thick. I want to be able to shut this grimoire. So on this page, I think it would be best just to stick these down flat. Okay, and I think that's all I'm going to do on that page for now anyways. And let's work on the cabinet card. So as I said, I've already put in this background paper here, so I'm going to grunge this up first of all. Again, just using my oxide walnut ink. And I do want to make this look really kind of old and grungy here, so I'm just spreading this on. This has got kind of a smooth surface to it. And I want to take my two little corner pieces and add those. Now the reason I'm only adding two of these, boy they're slippery, here and here is because, not down here, because this already has a little border. Oops, you can't see that, sorry. This has a little border already here. I don't want to cover it up. Plus it's going to be tucked in here, and I don't want bulk. If there were two of those little pieces on either side, it's going to make this page bulge out a little bit more, whereas these are going to hang outside of the page. And now here's something I should try though, before I get too carried away. It is going to hang out of the book like this. Is that going to cause me grief when I tie up the book? Not really. I think that'll be fine. So let's get these on here. Again, using my trusty Gorilla Glue. Wow, I have a hard time picking these up off of my mat. A little glue on there. And a little glue on this. And right now I'm doing this first before I do the rest of this page because I want this to have a little bit of time to dry. so that by the time I get this other page done, this will be set enough that I can just put it right in that pocket. And my ladies, they need a little bit of ink. And I'm just also adding a little ink to the lighter parts of this in the front. Just allows me to make it look old and grungy. Gonna let her one foot sort of hang out over the base of the card. Gives it a little bit of dimension. Okay, and that's all I'm going to do to this right now, and I'm just going to set that aside to dry. And we're going to work on the tag next. So I have these two cards, one on the front, one on the back. I think I'll put the ritual on the front, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to tear. So you see I left a little bit of a white border around this when I initially did the rough cut, just so I would have enough area to tear the paper and not tear too much into the actual card. And I'm going to do the same thing with this one. Now, another way to rough up the edges of things like this is you could just take a piece of sandpaper or a emery board and just file along the edges, but I find tearing it gives it a nice effect. So let's get out my ink. Sorry if I was doing some of that off of camera. I get going on this and I forget all about the fact that I've got a camera here. And again with these, I'm just going to keep them flat because they are going into the pocket. If I get some glue out here. Maybe I'll just set it off on an angle just to be a little different. And doing the same with this one. And you'll notice that it curls up a little bit on the edges here. I didn't put the glue all the way to the very edge, and that's not a problem. But one thing I forgot to do, and I better do that now again, is I want to add a little aging on the edge of my tag. Now I could tear this tag as well, but I'm not going to bother because I've already torn the other pieces, and I think that's enough, but it definitely is an option. Okay, now I want to put some of this ribbon in this tag, but I want to gunge it up first. So I'm just going to use my ink again, and there are many ways you could do this. But this is probably the fastest and the easiest. I could use my spray inks on this too, but then I'd have to wait for it to dry. And as I told you, I'm an impatient crafter. I like to do things fast. Okay, that's good. So let's take a pair of scissors here and let's cut that off. Scissors aren't very good for cutting fabric. Okay, and then let's just double it over and see if we can get it stuck through the hole. And I'm just going to loop it through. Not going to worry about tying any kind of fancy knot to this. And I think I'll leave it so it'll hang out a little bit. Now, before, I'm going to let this have a couple of seconds more to dry, or to set. And in here, I'm going to, I thought I would take some of these, and that's my pocket edge there. But because we got calling upon the ancestors and ritual in the whole bit, I thought I'd put these people right here. Maybe she goes on that side. No, I think it goes better the other way. So again, let's get out our ink and grunge up my little paper dolls. These are the Tim Holtz paper dolls, by the way, which I love them. And I should see if I can order some more packages of them because I absolutely love them. I use them for all kinds of things. And they're nice too. In the set you get, oh, I don't know, 100 of them or something like that. And there's quite a few different characters in there, but they also come in a couple of different sizes in the package as well, which is kind of nice. Okay, I think that couple's kind of grunged up enough. Now, we don't want to put glue on the upper half of these because I want it to be able to get into the pocket below. So we're just going to glue the bottom half of them. And add this young lady. And I'm not having them overlap each other because there's one more little element I want to put on here, and it's this stylized cross, which I think I'm going to stick right here between them. And again, I want to grunge this one up. It's just a little chipboard piece. I think I got a package of these at Michael's. They weren't that expensive, which is a miracle considering it's Michael's. Usually use a coupon because, you know, why not? Again, I could have used sprays on this. I could have used acrylic paint. But this is fast, this is easy, it gives me pretty much the effect that I want. And more glue. Now I don't need to raise this up on pop dots or anything because it's already a fairly thick piece of chipboard and it already has a bit of dimension to it as such. Now I think I will just take, I'm going to clean up a little bit here. I'm going to take my heat gun to this. Again, remember what I said about fumes from this Gorilla Glue? This is just to quicken up the setting here so that the glue will set a little bit quicker. Okay, that'll do. And I think I can stick my cabinet card in here like so. So they're just peeking out over the edge. And then my ritual spell card just go in there, and I'm just going to raise it up a little so you can see there's a spell. I'm going to let that hang out, and there's my page. All done. And when I close the book, I have some elements that will be sticking out from it, and I think that'll look even cooler. So there we have it. So that's the next set of pages. And so next time I'm going to do another set of pages, and we'll see what we come up with then. Okay, so the next installment will be a few more pages, and I'm going to see if I can figure out some interesting interactive elements that I might be able to do on future pages in the Grimoire, so stay tuned. Okay, so updates. Update on my mother, she is fine. I did mention yesterday the fact that I reached out to my brother who lives out in British Columbia, and that he should contact my mother. I let him know by email that, you know, she's fine. There hasn't been any outbreak of anything at her nursing home. But, you know, it would be nice if he got a hold of my mother and talked to her. And he did send me back a reply, which I was surprised at. And not to get into a long story, I talked a little bit about this yesterday, but not in a lot of detail. My brother and I are a little bit estranged from each other for a couple of reasons. Those are what I'm not going to get into right now. But, you know, we share the same mother, so he needs to reach out to my mother. You know, he might resent the fact that he didn't if, you know, something does happen to her, God forbid. But anyways, so we'll see what happens with that. But Mom is okay. And, you know, she's keeping up with what's going on because there's nothing the matter with my mother's brain. And she watches the news and she's, you know, keeping up on things. So somebody asked me yesterday if it's hard on her because she's not getting any visitors. I'm sure it is. You know, I would go over once a week. My sister would go over once a week. And she did have some friends that used to come over and visit her too, but now that's all changed. But I do call her at least twice a week, if not more. And when she does pick up the phone, I get to talk to her. So, you know, we're trying to stay in touch, you know, and but she seems pretty calm about this. My mother usually is about things. Always has been that way, a little bit. I'm sure it bothers her, but she's not necessarily showing that. So anyways, she's fine. We had a virtual guild executive meeting. We tried this out as a practice for our next full guild meeting, and it's all done as like a sort of like a webinar, if you know what that is. Companies use this kind of software, you know, for meetings and things like that. And in fact, the software we're using for this, it has been the company has graciously allowed us to use their software online for our meetings, which is really nice of them. One of our members on the executive works for this company and asked them, and they said, sure, no problem. So we're going to have next Monday, a week from today, we will do a full guild meeting via internet. So, and I think a lot of people are doing that right now. And I've looked at various pieces of software for that, and I don't want to pay for it. I want freebies. So if anybody knows some really good free software that allows for streaming and for connecting with other people so you have two-way video and the whole bit, let me know. Put it in the show notes below or send me an email, because I'm looking for something. Again, I want a freebie, and also something that doesn't have all kinds of limitations on it. I know I'm probably asking for way too much here on that kind of thing. But yeah, if you know of something that you think might work out, because what I'd like to do is I'd like to do a video conference where, you know, I could set up maybe a virtual crafting session, and it, you know, you can do that through the live on YouTube, but the problem is you can't see the other people. All they can see is the person who's set it up, like me, for example, and you can hear whatever everybody else is saying, but it would be nicer if, you know, you could see everybody across the screen. Now, we do that with the Quilter's Way, the membership site that I belong to, that you've heard me talk about before, but we use Zoom, but Zoom costs money. They have a freebie version of it, but it allows you only about 40 minutes in a session. And I reached out to them to ask them, you know, if it was a possibility, like I was thinking at one point of doing a virtual quilting thing with our guild, and asked if they could extend that to say 24 hours, but I never got an answer back from them. So they have it's a subscription site. They started about $29.99 or something, I think, or $24.99 American each month. Well, a Canadian, that translates right now to about $10 more than that. And yeah, no, because I wouldn't be using it that often to justify that kind of cost. But it would be nice to have a two-way live stream where you could see the other people. We'd be crafting, showing what we're doing, chatting away, or quilting, doing whatever. You might be able to do it through Skype. I'm not sure. I have a little bit of experience with Skype, but not a lot. But then that constitutes people having to dial in. It would be nice if it was, something based already, like nobody really needs any special software for. Now, apparently there's one called StreamYard. I looked into that, and maybe I need to pursue it a little further to see what its potential is as well. But anyways, just a thought. If you've got any ideas, let me know. Put them in the show notes below or send me an email. Okay, so I digressed again today. My brain is every which way. I have my notes here to keep me on track, but doesn't seem to be working. Okay, so that, and all right, so one of the things we've been doing a lot more while we're in isolation, and when I say we, I mean Walter, is cooking. And so Walter's been coming up with things that he's never really made for us before. And one of those are cinnamon buns. And they're fantastic. So I thought you might want to see Walter's buns. So here's a little video of that. Buns in the oven. There's Walter's cinnamon rolls. Don't they look delicious? Hot cinnamon buns. Are you going to put icing on them?
Cream cheese icing.
Oh, cream cheese icing. And here's the final result before the icing. Cream cheese icing. Ooh, they look good. Walter has hot buns.
Hopefully they're good.
Don't poke your bun. And now Walter has finished his cinnamon rolls. They now have the cream cheese icing. This being isolated isn't such a bad thing, if we get these a lot. Now, not to be outdone, as if it was a competition, I got this urge. I don't know why. I saw a cooking YouTube where a lady was doing an old recipe from her grandmother of making, traditional rice pudding. I haven't had rice pudding in years. My grandmother used to make rice pudding on a regular basis with raisins. I know some people don't like raisins. Walter's one of them. I love raisins. And I thought, I'm going to give this a shot myself and see what I can come up with. And so here's a little video insert of my rice pudding. So watching Walter cook all this week got me inspired, and I got a craving for rice pudding. So I haven't made rice pudding in, maybe I've never made rice pudding, come to think of it. So I'm making it. I have this recipe that I found online. It's got good star rating here, 5-star rating. So I'm giving it a try. So I've put in my cooked rice. I did that. It's now sitting in a mixture of milk, sugar, and a little salt. And I'm supposed to cook this for about 15-20 minutes on medium heat until it's thick and creamy. And then I add some other things to it. So we'll come back to that in a moment. Okay, so this is almost done. I've got my raisins in it. I've got some nutmeg, some cinnamon, and a little bit more milk. And there goes my timer. So I'm supposed to take it off the heat and add butter and vanilla. So here's my butter. That's stirred in. And then I'm just going to add my vanilla, and we should be done. And there's the final product, a little cinnamon for garnish. And I just tried some, and it tastes great. So just let it cool, and it'll be ready for dinner tonight. So I don't know if that made you hungry or not, but it's kind of making me hungry too. But I'm holding off. There's those cinnamon buns and that rice pudding, not light. And actually my rice pudding isn't that bad because I made it with skim milk and it only takes 1/3 of a cup of sugar in it and you saw the amount. So actually, it's not too bad for you, but the cinnamon buns are just decadent and sinful with cream cheese icing. Oh, I think so. We took half of them and froze them. And the other half we've been nibbling at. Now, we're holding ourselves back, only like one cinnamon bun a day kind of a thing. So I'm justifying it anyways, because otherwise I would just like bury my thighs right in there and just, and I have been losing weight thanks to this little intermittent fasting diet that we've been doing. Since we started it at the end of January, I've lost about 12 pounds. That's pretty damn good. I have increased my exercise a little bit. Oh, I'm digressing again. But anyways, and I don't want to put it all back on simply for the sake of, eating sugar. But they are decadent. And Walter's been making bread too. A lot of French loaves and things like that. We have a bread maker. We actually have 2 bread makers. We haven't been using both of them at the same time. And I kind of want to make some bread too. Again, I used to make it all the time and kind of got out of the habit. And anyways, we've been doing that too. So it's funny, it's almost like a survival thing. You get this instinct saying, okay, I need to start stocking up food and putting things in the freezer and doing that kind of thing. And that really, that's what animals do. Well, they don't put food in the freezer because they don't have one. But, like when animals know they sense that there's going to be a shortage of something or whatever, they stock up. Squirrels are out there gathering their nuts for the winter and all that kind of stuff. Humans do the same thing. We're not that long out of the trees, really, if you think about it. So, the survival instinct. So in our case, survival instinct means making rice pudding and cinnamon buns. Yeah, it's a fun survival. Okay, so moving on. What's coming up? Easter. Okay, this is not going to be like an Easter that we're used to. We can't get together with family and friends for dinner. And if you're thinking about doing that, stop it. Just stay the fuck in. Okay? Got it? You can make it fun with who's ever in your house. Okay? I was thinking, what could we do? We've got a ham, a small one. We could do a special dinner. We could, instead of eating in the kitchen, we could use our dining room. Get out the good china, the good silverware, the good wine goblets. Put on some nice music. Light the fire in the fireplace. We have a fireplace in our dining room, kind of a thing. I don't recommend lighting a fire if you don't have a fireplace. Okay, that could be disastrous. I've got some chocolate bunnies left over from last year. I can set out nice place setting in the whole bit. Yeah, the more I'm thinking about this, the more I'm getting into this idea. I can decorate the table up. We can have our own little Easter celebration. Just the 2 of us, kind of a thing. Light some candles. And when I light candles, I push a remote control because they're flameless. Actually kind of getting into this, and I'm thinking about, this might be kind of fun. So you can do something like that. Okay? Make a special effort to reach out to your relatives and things through, FaceTime or whatever on your phone, on your computer, that kind of stuff. Spend some time with them. We can make this work, people. It could become the new tradition. Who knows? We can make it work. We don't have to feel neglected for this kind of thing. So maybe that gave you some ideas of what you can do for Easter as well. I'm just hoping that people really, don't think that they can go and congregate with other people at this point in time because it's Easter. I'm really worried about the people who, for them, Easter is a major, religious kind of event. And, get that idea. Apparently, the evangelistic Christians in the south of the United States and their fanatics are telling people to come to church. God will protect them. Oh God, no. That could be a pissed off thing. Maybe next week I'll do a rant about that. I don't know, but that's just ludicrous. Ludicrous. I mean, even the Pope in Rome, it was Palm Sunday this past Sunday, yesterday, and he did his service, but he had a minimum number of cardinals. None of the public were there. Everybody was distancing. So, I'm not a Catholic, but bully for the Pope. He did go out to the square, apparently, and send out his blessings to the people there. But, of course, usually there's all kinds of people in the Vatican Square. Nobody. Good. Okay. For that. So, I hope people take that into consideration and don't do something stupid. Okay, I'm back on that again. It's hard not to. I'm sorry. It's just hard not to, as you know. Okay, so anyways, we can make Easter something to look forward to, but we can be safe doing it. Okay? So if you've got some ideas about what you might be doing for Easter this year, if you celebrate it, if it's something that's traditional in your family for the family to get together, how are you going to approach it this year? Let's be imaginative about this, people. I'm even going to say that why not send me a short video or some pictures of what you did for Easter, and I'll feature those on the vlog next week. My email's at the end of the video, as always, stephenbland@simpatico.ca, Stephen with a V. And that one might be kind of cool to share. Okay, so think about that. Seriously. And I will think about what I can share as well. Okay, enough of me. Have a good week. Be very safe. Please, please, please stay the fuck in. Okay? It's a small thing to do, but it can mean so much in the long outcome of whether we survive this crisis or not, and we will survive. So, and before I start bursting out into that song by Gloria Gaynor, I Will Survive, I'm going to say goodbye. Have a good one. See you next week.